Greetings and welcome back to Impressions Connect, e-commerce for embroiderers. And I'm still Erich Campbell, and I talked just recently about the discovery phase of people working through your website, the purchase process, and we're now going to get into the next phase of your customer's process in going through purchasing. In this case, it is decision making. It is their process in getting tipped over. How are they going to make decisions both between products and the decision to buy from you? And decisions, in this case, are made in the details. So this is what we're trying to do in the decision-making phase with our customers. We want our website to reassure them and remove doubt wherever possible. Once again, we're engendering trust. We're making sure there's right feedback for them. We're making sure they have all the answers they need so they can make decisions clearly. Once again, definitely it's an emotional thing. Everybody always says, we're looking through all these details and they're going to make this cold, calculating decision. No, people are going to make an emotional decision to purchase. So we still want to think about that content, still want to think about what kind of questions they're asking. However, we do want to provide details that give them that sensation of having done the work, done the research. It does actually provide them with real answers that they can look at, the real numbers behind the garments so they're not confused, but it just reassures them they should already be on the path now. They should have imagined what their garment's going to do for them, what their services are going to do for them. And now that they're very interested, we need to go ahead and lock things down and say, here are the brass tacks. These are the things we really want to get to that are important about the garment, about working with us, that you need to know. So we're going to reassure them and remove doubt. They already feel like they see where we fit in with what they want. Now we reassure them and remove doubt. So here's where we provide concrete details and options to help your customer clarify their position. When they're not sure exactly where they're standing, we want to help them get there and take away all the obstacles to them purchasing. So this is how we're going to do that. First, we want to provide information that confirms what they're looking for or that redirects their action. We either want to confirm what they're already trying to do or find an outlet that redirects them somewhere that is useful to us and useful to them, really. And so here's the thing. When we're talking about providing info that confirms things, the first thing are the details about the actual garment itself, about the decoration itself, things that they actually want to know, the specs, size charts and measurements, and also information on how to measure oneself, because we're talking about online buying and the difficulty therein. It can also be about fitting and run. And those things are all part of that size chart setting. We need to talk about those things certainly so that people know, yes, a garment's going to fit. This is how it's going to fit. Secondly, color charts. Obviously, we want to provide an accurate view of the kind of colors that are available to the customer. Yes, we know they're not 100%. And when they look at color, we should always have a disclaimer that says colors represented on any monitor may not be 100% real to the colors that are in life. You have to see things in the thread. Embroiderers know this very well. Showing a preview of the image will never be 100% like matching colors in person. You may have to deal with that. But you still want to provide color charts. You still want to provide those options clearly and let people have the ability to choose. And you definitely want to make sure you're not providing colors for garments that aren't available, colors for thread that you don't have any sort of like color to, or that you don't have an option for it. There's always a way to get options, but especially with garments, make sure that you have the option available. Materials, you should always present what materials are, and that would include, for me, laundry instructions as well. People need to know care instructions and how things are going to be cared for and what that means about the ownership cycle, what it's going to be like to actually own a garment. They should understand what they're in for when they're getting into it. Nobody likes to find out they have a dry clean only garment on their hands that they expected to machine wash. These are all part of the game. Features, that's part of that too. The care products can be part of that, but also features of the garment themselves. People want to know these things. We need to make sure they're all explicitly listed so they know what they're getting into again. And pricing. Pricing should be clear. Pricing schedules and schemes should be clear. Yes, I know we want to quote and have them discuss these things, especially with embroidery. We may need to talk about stitch counts. We need to talk about complexity, but we may have to talk about digitizing and art prep. However, the rest of the pricing, as well as we understand it, should be there. And if nothing else, our way of pricing and what it's going to take to get a final price should be in front of them very easily and easy to see. This also kind of talks about our terms and conditions. We're going to get into that later, but certainly pricing can be very explicit. And if there is a chance for you to have explicit pricing, I would recommend going for it. But if there isn't, certainly terms and conditions should handle that. So this here on the left-hand side absolutely kind of handles that first part of it, the info, the specs that confirm things that they might think or answer questions they need confirmation on. The second will be the redirection and certainly the other kind of answers that are outside of the garment. Calls to action. If they don't know where to go next, like I said previously, they're lost and we've already lost their sale. Calls to action, the ability to know exactly where you're going, things that have a visual hierarchy that draw the eye that say, now that you're here, here's the next step. Proceed to checkout buttons are the easiest thing I can talk about here, but certainly if you have things that they need to go to, let's say they don't like where they're at, having something that says, here's the next step. Do you need to ask a question? Do you want something that you don't see here in the catalog? These things should be in their face, should be obvious, and should be easy to get to. This also is like related in alternate products. If they're looking at a product and they're not sure they love it, at the bottom of this, any sort of e-commerce site is going to give you the option to give you some sort of related items, alternate products, products that are not only just related but correlated to it, alternate versions of the product. These things should be visible to them and attached to each of the garments, each of the products, so that they know what they're looking for. And certainly if you have the ability, depending on your platform, comparisons are great. We always used to sell on the good, better, best. Here's your chance to have that good, better, best set up pre-built into your products. If there's a comparison table you can add, go ahead and do the comparison table. It can also help people who are working on budgets to deal with those budgets. I'm not saying always to provide that deep budgetary option, but you can also do that and be clear about the caveats, the things they should be aware of when they're looking at the cheaper option, or what they should be happy about when looking at the more expensive option. But certainly comparisons can help with people making the decision process, and the fact that you have multiple options may make them more comfortable. Also, terms and conditions. Your terms and conditions should be available always. If people are concerned about the terms and conditions, down in the bottom in the footer where it's very classic to have these things, you should have links there. And I would even recommend that if it's something that you have consistent questions about, especially if you've been in operation for some time and you know what people can continually hang up on. If you are, as I said before, tasting your own cooking, eating the dog food, you will know what people hang up on, and you want to make sure that you're addressing those in the terms and conditions. This can also handle pricing. This can handle all these other things that we've talked about previously, returns, things like that. Make sure where to find terms, conditions, and also support is very clear to them and easy for them to see. So always provide info or, like I said, redirection, so that we're not having to leave the site, call us, do something else. We should have a clear pathway to the next step, whatever that step is, even if it does eventually mean it's contacting us and going back to a more conventional form of quoting. No matter what we do, we never want them to be lost, and we never want them to be lacking a critical piece of information. The great thing is, we're all customers. You are a customer. When you puzzle about what should be there, think to yourself. Remember, get that beginner's mindset. Go outside. Look at this website with fresh eyes. Try and think, I'm buying from these people. What questions keep me from pushing the buy button? Also, we've just gone through a big purchasing season. If you're watching this when it was first produced, we've gone through the Christmas buying season. What stopped you from pressing a buy button on a website? What endangered your trust? What didn't come clean for you and made you wonder what you were getting into? Ask those questions of yourself and say, what is it that makes me stop pushing the buy button? And answer them and address them in your own website. You're a customer. You can do some of this yourself. Now, certainly, asking customers, asking family members, asking people outside of your family who you can trust to look at your website pre-launch and to have them answer this can be incredibly helpful. And certainly, once you start using your website and you get feedback, watch that feedback. Everybody wants to kind of, quash the haters, as it were, when they come up with problems that they have with your website. The truth of the matter is they may be showing you the vulnerabilities you haven't, and they might be your biggest asset to find out what you need to do to engender trust. Like I've always said to people, and this is the nasty way of saying it, is this. If you want to blame your customers for being stupid, for not knowing how to use your website, what you need to realize is if all the people you sell to are stupid and you want stupid money, then you have to be able to make things intelligible to people who are stupid. That's the nasty way of saying it. The great way of saying it is, if I can't get through to my customers and the people who I want to sell to, obviously it's my messaging that's not doing the job. So think about the questions that stop you from pressing the buy button. And I'm going to translate some customer questions in admittedly a little bit of a fluffy, emotional way, but this is more close to the truth of a lot of things I've seen when selling, because a lot of people just need attention to their problems in order to get converted, especially once you're down to the point of contacting them. And this is where it usually runs. People are asking questions like this. Does this shirt run small? The thing is, they've had a bad experience with a previous shirt that ran small, and if something's not comfortable and doesn't make them look good, they're not going to wear it, and they feel like the money is wasted and that maybe you have kind of swindled them. They feel bad, and honestly, if it doesn't fit right, it makes them feel bad about themselves. Help me be comfortable so I'll actually want to wear what I bought this time. That's what you're hearing from the customer. If you can help them do that, that's what you need to do. If you're afraid that your shirts run too small, either maybe your product is the wrong product for your clientele, or you should be honest about how it runs and let them make the choice for themselves. They're online, so they're not having to face down a salesperson and tell them they need a bigger size. So give them that information. It's one of the great things about the online experience is they can have a private experience with the sale. How long will it take to deliver my order? This is what they really need. They're saying, help me fulfill my promises and give me real dates so that I don't give others false expectations that I have to answer for, especially business to business. Purchasers are not trying to hurry you necessarily. Sometimes they are, because what's happened is the real answer is they have not given you enough time to do the work and they're under the gun. But the truth of the matter is, whatever it is, they have someone they're answering to, or they have some purpose for the garment that is time sensitive and they want to know. Or thirdly, they may have had an experience where someone didn't fulfill the way they said they were going to. They want real dates. They want to know what they can expect things. They don't want surprises. And especially if they're promising someone else a garment that they're going to deliver, like purchasers often do, you want them to be the hero. You want to help them. I'm going to say that again. Definitely, you're looking to help them fulfill their promises. They want you to help them come out looking good. And there's nothing wrong with kind of aiming for this, because even if this isn't exactly the case, if it's not this emotional, the truth of the matter is it's still the best option to make them look good. What happens if I don't like how they turn out? Customer's really saying this. How are you going to make sure that my money, time, and effort pay off? What do you expect from me to get that guaranteed? And that's part of the thing. They're not just saying, are you going to stand behind your product, which obviously you should. They're saying, what is the experience that I have? What do I need to do to make sure that I don't end up losing in this? They want to know that as part of this question. What happens if I don't like how they turn out also means, what can I do to safeguard myself from losing my money, to safeguard myself from losing time and effort? Well, the thing is, we all feel incredibly busy, whether we are or whether we aren't. A lot of us feel busy and overwhelmed if we're not very careful with our time. These people have that time invested. They don't want to waste it, and they certainly don't want to waste their money, and especially not now. Making sure that you handle this and tell them how these things are dealt with, and be very clear about your expectations of them in the process, about approvals, about what happens if a garment is decorated and cannot be returned, cannot be reused. We need to be very clear with this stuff up front and have it in their face immediately. It's better to be honest with this stuff than to, kind of beat around the bush and end up with a bad experience later. No one likes a surprise with this stuff, so clarity is the key here. Certainly be human, certainly be emotional, certainly use natural language. It doesn't have to be corporate and cold. It does have to be accurate. It does have to be clear. So this is it. The entirety of this is to assure people that things are going to turn out all right, that you know what you're doing, and that the process is tuned to be beneficial to everybody. And then you want to absolutely clarify to make sure there aren't surprises, questions, that we haven't befuddled anyone, used jargon, used extra language to try and hide something we're doing. We want to be clear and purposeful in the way we speak. So we provide information in our copy. We provide information in our policies. We eliminate surprises as much as possible. We talk about our delivery dates. We talk about how garments fit. We describe exactly how the process is going to go and make sure it's very clear where to go next throughout the purchasing process. And we explain our terms clearly. But the thing is, we do need to stand by our product and our policies. We can set policies that certainly keep us safe, but we need to stand by those policies. And when we run afoul of them, we don't start blaming customers first. Blame game will never bring a customer back or save an order. And quite often, it's better if we say, here's our policy, but I'm going to be magnanimous and do something for you, despite the fact the policy has you partially losing out. Much more likely to generate a lifetime customer, and especially if you've got the feeling this customer is good, and often they are. A lot of people are on good terms with you when you start. That loss will pay off in the end, and standing by your product pays off in the end. And honestly, be honest with yourself and make sure that you're doing all the communication, that you laid out all of your processes clearly to them that allowed them not to hit the failure state. If you didn't do that, then you need to stand by that, clarify your position again, and take the loss as a learning lesson to help you communicate better what needs to happen. It's not always your fault, but worrying about fault is really not going to make our business better, definitely not going to make our e-commerce run better. So let's go to bring it home. Purchase and fulfillment is the last section that we're going to worry about in the process. Honestly, we have some great things we can help with this, but a lot of this is just not sticking our foots in our mouths and not tripping on the way out the door. The great thing is that fulfillment, and this is something we're not talking about as much, because we have the ability to do things like direct fulfillment to a single customer, and I can talk at the very end in bonus time about different kinds of use cases. These are things that online websites help us do because we can get information, we can do individual shipping, we can charge for things differently than we might do in bulk ordering. Fulfillment is great for us. But purchasing, you really have to be careful to make sure it works. Bringing it home, they've already made the decision. We need to make sure the last part of this process is very clear and very easy. This is the simplest way to put it, guys. Never make it hard for someone to give you money. Don't make it hard to purchase. Don't make it hard to do your terms. Make it all clear. Make sure they know where they're at. No matter what it is that you're going to require them to do, be clear about it and make it easy to achieve technologically, security-wise, whatever it is. Don't hang up the last portion of this thing. Never make it hard for them to give you money. And never make them question where their money has gone. If you have not done the process of tasting your own cooking, like I said, you need to make sure that when they buy that there is clear confirmation they have bought, clear confirmation what they have bought, where their money has gone, and they're getting a clear invoice, and that they know where they're going to get their invoice and what the information on that invoice says. You need to be very, very clear when we're talking about where their money has gone. Make sure that the confirmation process, whether it's email, the direct confirmation page that comes up, whether there is follow-up texts through some sort of text service, whatever it is, make sure they're absolutely getting some sort of clear signal that they actually have been heard and their order is placed and in process. Payment and confirmation is sacred. You cannot afford not to get this right. If people don't know where their money went, especially large custom orders, they are going to be upset, they are going to call you, and they will lose faith in your website no matter what else you've done up to this point. If you mess up the purchase process, you will mess up their trust of the site. Absolutely. So let's talk about this very briefly. Incentivizing online purchase and pay. It's great for us because we generally get paid on time. We get paid up front. Usually they're using a credit card or some other process to do this that makes sense to us. Here are some ways that we can handle it. Just like before we had perks to utility, the perk-based way to do it is to give them some sort of incentives. You incentivize it by giving a reward system, percentages off for that upfront direct payment. You can do things like that. Discounts, special terms. If they sign up online and pay some sort of deposit online, you give them terms that you might not give if they were coming in. Or you have special programs that are related to online purchasing that give them extra garments or discounts or some other long-term incentives. We've seen this from everything from Starbucks to grocery stores. Incentivizing is not a new thing, but we can do that ourselves. And most modern website setups are going to have some sort of option for us to do this kind of incentivization if we want to. And also we can do this manually. So perk-based systems, different percentages we have off of things can be done and incentivize that online pay and incentivize payment up front, which is great for us. Other thing, utility-based online purchase. This is really where websites shine, and company websites especially, group buying websites especially. The ease of order entry. If you had to do something personalized that had a bunch of names on it, this is good for us and good for them. If they can enter those names or if they can send out to each one of the people in their organization or their team and have them enter their own names and specs, and then we produce an order and give that to them, they can pay online. They can have people individually in a group buy instead of collecting money and one person is the collector who handles all the purchasing. If everyone buys in a retail type situation, but even with one single decoration run and a set date for fulfillment, that ease of payment is utility and it drives them to do it. If the person who's in charge, whether in a business buy or a family buy or a team buy, doesn't have to collect payments or hound people, but that's all done individually, awesome. They have gained some utility and they love you for it. The ease of options for communication, like I said, not everybody likes to be on the phone, and especially these days, people don't want to come in necessarily and be face-to-face with you. When we have options for text communication, for email communication, that all of these things are captured by our system, especially if we have integrated systems for for customer resource management and for order management, the ease of those options is going to make a big deal. If they can fire off a message related to their order and it pops up in our system, it also helps us track that information, those communications in relation to the order, and lets anybody in our business look at an order and have that information at hand. So these are great for us, great for them. Also, the ease of info access or order history, massive great way to sell this, is that people don't have to call in to ask where their order is, as long as we within our own organizations are meticulous in documenting processes and saying when things are in process, when things are ready to pick up or ready to ship or what have you. They can go and look at that information or get some sort of ping, push message, text, email directly from the system whenever we update that status. These things are absolutely going to incentivize online purchasing, because people will love to be able to have that information on hand. Now, it's not everybody, but for the generation of people who have grown up with internet services, this is all just butter. This is exactly what they would love to have. And lots of people really enjoy that. Certainly, you're always going to have people who want direct contact, but this stuff gives them the option to get this information whenever they need it. And for, like I said, incentivizing fulfillment, perk-based as well. If we have everybody handle all of their information and data entry, we can do things like putting free shipping together. Lots of people do. It's very common. The other thing, free prep. Like I said, team orders. If you bake into your pricing the ability to do individual labeling, individual bagging, you can now make team orders very easy to distribute. And these days we can do direct shipping as the other part of that. Direct shipping individual to people's houses, even if we're doing, let's say we're doing like employee packages. A lot of companies right now are doing care packages to their home working employees. Incentivizing that online order includes saying, if you are doing these online orders, if you work with us and you have these individual orders, we can do things like perk systems or credit systems where your company doesn't have to handle any of this fulfillment. We package things up in a particular kind of awesome packaging, or we handle something for you where we ship directly to your workers exactly what they have ordered, and we handle billing to you, or we handle some other sort of incentives directly. So we can incentivize through fulfillment, through our ability to ship directly, through our ability to handle distribution. We can incentivize the use of the website. And we can use our websites to provide a sales angle to get us into situations we might not have otherwise had because of the ability for individual employees, customers, team members to order in a retail styled setting. So utility-based, direct-to-customer shipping, like I said, gratis packaging, labeling, and distribution. In the days of team distribution previous to pandemic, much more certainly able to use that, where we hand off a box that has individually bagged items that are named so that people can distribute in groups very easily. Other thing, balance and credit and voucher programs, something I've used many times, is to allow companies to pre-purchase voucher amounts for their employees or for people who are on their teams, and those vouchers are sent out digitally. The people use the vouchers with us. We've billed the company for the voucher, but we ship directly to the client. And then once again, packaging quality and type, you can do things like prepare special packages so that you can send these home care packages to employees of businesses who have a lot of home workers. Great ways to incentivize your online work too, because the tools available in making those individual orders or making it possible, because we can do these things as a package that the employee is given a code, is given a voucher, is given a credit, and they can order directly from us, and they handle all of the addresses, all the fill-ins, all the sizing themselves, so that there's no problems with sizing, there's no problems with where the things are going, or at least there are fewer problems than there would be if we had one person at a company handling this stuff that has no business in it. So with this, we just want to make sure we're going back to basics. Think about this. All this cool stuff we can do that e-commerce makes more available to us as embroiderers, we always want to make sure we're talking about the purpose of our site. So let's get back to basics and describe it one more time. Why does your website exist? If you can't answer this question, you have a problem. If you can't explain why using your website is better than calling your customer representatives, your site is not ready for launch. You should know why and have a reason why. It's better than doing business for at least some category of your customers than just calling you the old-fashioned way. If you don't, the chances are your website is not really up to snuff, or it doesn't provide any additional value, and it may not drive a lot of attention. Who is it for and what does it do? You need to describe the customer you're looking to sell to. If you can't define the problems those customers have, you won't have solutions to offer. Define those problems that a customer has, that ideal customer you expect to shop on the website. Solve them with the tools that the site provides. And like I said, extra points for uniquely online solutions. Once again, making your site the best way to get to done. And this is the thing. In the end, you're only answering one real question. And I know this is going to sound overblown. It's going to sound emotional, overthought, but hear me out. How does your customer's life improve through ordering online from you? From ordering online, including your product specifically. And third, as opposed to other methods, how does their life improve? Now you might say, really, how does my life improve? But if we're trying to make things easier for someone, if we're trying to make it easier for them to do the job of purchasing, if we're trying to make them feel better about what they're wearing, if we're trying to make them able to thank their employees for their hard work at home during a tough time, we're trying to make them look good. We're trying to make them feel good. We're trying to make their life easier. How does your customer's life improve? When they use your website, when they order from you. Both of these things are important, both for your company and for the purpose of that website, for why it's there. You want to be the guide here. In this story, we aren't the heroes. We want to be the guides, the people who know what they need to know, who have the tools to help, and we're going to help our customers become the hero of the story. The customer should go back from you having brought the cool thing to the people who they want to impress, to the people who they care about, to the people whose opinions matter. Help them be the hero by providing the options they need to make their decisions and come back with the good thing. And make sure your product is that good thing. And embroidery, as we all know, awesome luxury product. It has all the value in the world, and it has proven itself over thousands of years. Let's help them bring that home and help them be the hero of the story. With that, guys, I'm going to have a bonus session where I talk about a couple of case studies. If you want to tune back in, they're going to provide that to you, but really, just keep this in mind. Help the customer be the hero of the story, and remember to give your website a purpose. If you don't know why it's there, neither will your customer. And with that, thank you for being in this e-commerce for Embroiderers session.